like to call to order the Franklin Tourism Commission meeting. And if we could start by taking roll. Jeff Kuderski is absent by announcement. Bill Elliott.
Here.
Barbara Wessner.
Here.
Mark Wiley.
Here.
Thank you. You'll all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It is 6:02, and I'd like to open up the citizen comment period. Do we have any citizens that would like to comment?
I'm here as a citizen. My name is John Bergner. I'm chairman of the Franklin Civic Celebration.
Hi, John.
And this is Anna Damsky, who's the vice chairman. We're just here to ask if tourism, probably 5-6 years ago, sponsored our T-shirts.
Yes.
And right before COVID hit, and after that, we haven't had anything. And this year we're having a pickleball tournament. We're bringing people in from all over different areas here for the tournament on Saturday, July 5th. And we'd like to have T-shirts maybe made for them. But we also have T-shirts made for our volunteers. And just wondering if, we could get some, donation from the tourism committee, from funds for the T-shirts. That's what we're looking at.
Okay. Just as a matter of information, I know we have a grant application that really may or may not apply in this case, and we can take a look at that for you. But also, can I just ask if you've talked to anyone from Engage Franklin?
No.
About this? Okay. Laura.
I'm happy to chime in.
Yeah, please.
Hi.
Hi there.
Laura Nelson. I'm the Franklin's. We're under contract with the Tourism Commission. We handle all things tourism, right? And while our mission is really toward the economic impact of overnight stays and things like that, we understand the value of what this fun. So we do have a certain amount of money set aside for community engagement and supporting activities such as that. So we'd be happy to entertain the request for certain. What we would love in order to take that to our board would be like cost and minutes, what exactly you're asking for, that sort of thing. But yeah, we'd absolutely love to help. We do have money set aside for that. And I'll find a way to get my information to you.
Yeah.
For the
All right. Thank you, Laura. John, thanks for the comment. Yeah, and Engage Franklin this is exactly what Engage Franklin is starting to get involved in kind of requests. So I'm glad that Laura and Brandon were here tonight, and I'm glad you stopped by to remind us about that. So July 5th is the actual tournament?
Yeah, and the celebration.
my day job on there, but my cell number's on there.
Okay.
I can text you that.
Yeah.
It's actually a 3-day event, July 3rd, July 4th, and July 5th. And then July 6th, we're just going to have the carnival. We'll have a carnival here for 4 days. And we have entertainment, activities, food vendors, and parade, of course, fireworks.
Right.
Doing it for 30 years.
Doing it well.
Yeah.
All right. Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Reach out. I'll be sure to be back to you shortly.
All right. Well, so seeing no other citizens for comment, I'd like to close the citizen comment period at 6:05 and move on to our the approval of our meeting minutes from the April 16th meeting. There is a copy in your packet. Are there any comments on the meeting minutes from the 16th?
A motion to approve is written.
Got a motion from Mark to approve the minutes.
Second.
Second from Barbara. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And minutes approved. All right, reports. Gage Franklin. Mark, can we start with you?
Yeah, I'm mostly going to have Laura and Brandon lead this, but I wanted to give you some good news. We had a board meeting on Monday, and we talked about some of the things that I'm sure they're going to review, but we did approve funding for a bowling tournament at Root River mid-November through the end of December. It'll be Friday, Saturday, Sunday for all those weekends. And she's expecting to bring in 520 different teams, potentially 3,000 people. Wow. Generally, these people stay overnight, so it's a good fit for everybody. It's a great way to popularize Franklin. She's modeling it after a tournament that takes place up in Green Bay. She's working with those people. So it's got enthusiastic reaction from Gage. I think it'll be a plus for everybody. We're going to work with hotels to package a deal.
So you could ask them for special rates that they can then put out. Perfect.
And,
Excuse me, the dates again?
Yeah,
are-
November 14th through December 28th.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
So it's weekends during that time
During that
period?
time.
Yeah, over the holidays.
That's
She envisions having a $75,000 total payout, $20,000 for first place. So we're talking about putting together a team and taking first place.
Imagine that.
I could be a cheerleader.
But we did approve, and so she's putting together a flyer that'll have Blue River and Gage Franklin. So we are going to be the main sponsor, not we.
Yeah. That is,
Yeah, I have to put my hat on this way.
that is phenomenal.
So it's a great opportunity, I think. And then aside from that, Brandon's been working on a number of other opportunities that I'll have him chat to.
So first, the visual guides are out. I don't know if you guys see them, those.
I wouldn't mind seeing that.
While he's handing those out, I will add that
He's got it.
he distributed those at the opening night of Milkman, along with coupons for some of the restaurants that gave them reduced prices. That it's gotten very good reception from all the hotel, all the people that are in there. So.
And we did print with 3 separate covers.
Yeah, this is just one of the covers.
So this is the Waterfall Aware Nature Center, and we had one that was from a stage view of Tacos and Tequila, so out at the crowd, very energetic, very lively. And what was the third one again?
And Crystal Ridge.
Crystal Ridge. So
So
for
kind
some
of had
winter.
a summer, fall, kind of nice nature vibe, and then some snowy to show that we have skiing in Franklin. So it's kind of nice. It's good.
You mention it, if I could ask. I mean, this is wonderful. I know exactly where this is, but do you mention anywhere like the cover photos from Ware Nature Center? Do you mention that, or is it just people are?
The cover photos, no, they're not mentioned, but every other photo is inside.
And where isn't there? So I don't know, did you use a different photo on the inside?
They're
for where?
in here. They have their own app.
That's a
Yeah, it would
They
be
have their
wonderful
app right
place.
a great piece of feedback, though,
Yeah, but
to
they
have
don't
it
know
mentioned.
that. It's up here. Okay.
Yeah, we can get that.
And we are actually going to be doing a reprint shortly, because I asked Brandon on the way in here, I was like, so can you bring a copy of each of the covers so everybody can see all 3? And he was like, well, nope, they've all been distributed and they're going like crazy. So
Yeah. Hotels, I asked for an update on how they're going, and they're taking them. And they actually have to put it away so it doesn't all get taken away. We got some feedback from Tammy. She says that she's never had tournament teams, like Little League teams, going to bowling.
Yeah.
And whether this is a factor or not, we can't obviously put 2 and 2 together, but she says this is the first time, I think, ever that she's ever had tournament teams. And this is the first time we had a visitor's guide, so I'll assume that putting those 2 together and with her ad on there kind of made it an attractive place to go visit.
and an active website to partner
Yeah,
with it.
and
so.
it's on the website too. There's a digital version on the website. If you go all the way to plan and click down, you're going to see visitor guides, and you just click it there.
But awesome feedback from Mayor Nelson that so for our reprint,
Do you want to add that to the reprint?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
What was? Oh, I'm sorry. What was the initial print though on the?
We do 3,000?
3,000.
3,000? Okay. All of 3,000 covers all
1,000
three covers.
each.
1,000, yeah, okay.
3,000 total.
Okay.
And yeah, we got some potential, I'd say league tournament. We have one that I think will be great for us, but we still have to get some feedback from them. It's the American Cornhole League. They run kind of like the same idea as bowling that we're doing, but they're every weekend till July, from October to July. We still need more information in order if we want to help out with them or not.
So when Brandon
But yeah.
says like help out at Sports ETA Symposium where he went in Oklahoma last month, is in the sports tourism industry, the rights holders of tournaments, it's not uncommon for them to ask for some bidding fee support or financial support in order for a destination to house their event. So that's what he means by help them out. When we're basically in negotiations with them to talk about what a partnership would look like. But first things first, obviously we would have to, and what they're looking to do is offset their operational costs. Pretty standard, right? So, so we just need to try to work with our venues to negotiate down some operational costs, maybe some trade opportunities, things like that. And then in addition to that, as opposed to just kind of being a check writing organization, we want to like see what partnerships are available, how this can turn into something more long term. So those are the kind of conversations we're having.
Could I give a little input for a second here?
Yeah.
So page 6, Franklin Eats. Do they have to, or are they have to be involved in somehow? Because, for example, Franklin Eats, you've got Taco Pros, but not Dairy Queen. Same owner. Owns both.
Is Dairy Queen represented on the Familiar Favorites page?
It's nationwide chains, but why not? I mean, Dairy Queen would be. I would put Dairy Queen there. I'd put Ricky's Double Barrel Inn under Franklin Eats, which is the former Wagner's.
Yeah. You want to red pen that for us?
I mean, I can.
Reprint?
I will
That'd be cool.
absolutely add some things. And for example, Landmark, St. Martin's Inn, the tavern, they don't have food. They're not allowed to have food.
Sure.
They have no. Either with Boston Pub, they just have frozen pizzas. I'll put some notes on here for you because definitely the owner of Taco Pros is going to want to know why Dairy Queen's not on there because those are two of his businesses are side by side, but with another restaurant coming in the middle shortly.
Well,
I will do that for you. But thank you.
Appreciate it. And if you can like physically red pen it if it's easiest, and then you can just snap a pic,
Just snap a
and then
picture
here,
and
or
send it.
today.
I'll
or
give
snap
it
a
to you
pic
before
and
we
text
leave.
it. Perfect. Awesome.
Perfect. Our partners are doing pretty well. Mulligan's had that partner game that we have with the Milkmen. They had the first pitch and they had the first milk on tap. I don't know if you guys saw it on social media. Basically, they were able to promote themselves through using us as a partner, as we are partners with the Milkmen. Our 7 partners doing well so far. We'll reach that topic again once we start to promote our 2026 visitors guide. Once we start getting there, but as of right now, we have 7. That's looking good so far.
Translate to about $2,200.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not a huge amount, but toe in the water type stuff. So establishing the partnership good, and then we'll grow it forward.
Yeah, they're getting involved. I get them involved a lot into the Milkman game just because it's a lot of Franklin, fans. So I said, hey, use this opportunity to use our marketing booth, spread your words, let people know that you exist here in Franklin, so they can leave the area and go eat in your area. Other than that, Sylvana's looking really good. They're predicting 3,000 to 5,000 attendees. They're also doing. They're basically having 2 events within 1 week. The day before the actual big event, they're having ski resorts come in, like 20 plus ski resorts to come in and just talk and have a convention. And then after, they want to do an after party, and I recommended Root River as a good, kind of like you got the bowling, you got the bar. Kind of, it's like every convention I've been to so far, they throw like a little after party, and they kind of want to do that. So I recommended to go to them. So hopefully that can bring more businesses to Franklin. Other than that, that's it.
Yeah, the Sylvana, just as a recap, that's at Ski Swap in November. Place it. Initiatives. Golf show is going to be re-signing as an annual, so that one we've kind of established a good rhythm with. Those are the highlights.
The other thing I would add, and we talked about it briefly on Monday, is that Brandon's made some better connections with the sports complex.
Oh,
So
absolutely.
we don't have to rely on just on Mosh.
So true. So we actually share a Google Doc. They shared their schedule as a live
have the
document with
weekends
us, so we know when they're available. So anytime that Brandon's out promoting us as a sports destination, he has live access to their availability. Awesome.
I have a question about your decision-making in listing the shopping venues. Listing two. Beef jerky and gifted wings. We do have other places that sell things. So I'm just asking, what was the rationale?
Well, the information I had
What page are you on?
On page 11.
of all the Franklin shops that we have here. We don't have them all.
And we've got more than that, but a lot of them are chains. Chain shops.
Right, I understand, yes.
Yeah,
There's
instead of like
there's a
boutique type things. But again, we welcome
Yeah.
the edits or anything like that too. We just try to think of things you, frankly.
I agree with you on that. I mean, just a quick ride around just 76 will just show you a whole bunch of stuff, but I know John's got a bunch of listing of things. Just that little ride around 76, you'll get a huge ton, and then down 27. Yeah, I mean, just getting out there and seeing things.
I can understand if you didn't want to put in any of the major chains, Lowe's, Target, or
Yeah,
whatever.
Still, I
But
put them.
still, why not? Yeah, they are here. Otherwise, it just looks like we don't do much shopping,
Right?
and we do.
We
Get
could
some
do
jerky and fly kite.
Oh,
We could redo that in the reprint.
you have a lot of. I think you'll have a lot to list.
When you do those listings, are they advertisers or are you listing businesses in general?
Well, we have advertisers, and then we have just general list.
In general.
I think eventually, by other advertising, right? You have a list of your businesses that are in there, and you get a free listing. But by the way, for an extra X dollars, you get a free listing.
Yeah, that's kind of how it's been.
You don't want to turn some people off right away, like them not being listed.
Financial reports I see on here, are you taking us through the Engage financial reports, or are you doing that,
No,
Mark?
Yeah, if you'd like.
I
So
depended on her to do that.
it's all good. So 2024, obviously, it was a little while ago yet. I know Brandon walked you through it verbally, and I can give you I don't know exactly how much you want me to go through here, but I'll take the which statement should I do?
Got all three of the documents that you sent us up on the screen.
Yep, I got it here too. So the statement of activity will probably be the easiest way to step you through the actual, where the money was used and where it came from. So obviously Franklin room tax and some dividends were our only revenue from 2024. Obviously we're branching into partnerships that hadn't taken flight just yet. Expenditures, advertising and marketing, and a little bit of social media. Brandon, what was your first day?
My first day was August 1st.
Okay, got it. So
August
he had
1st of 24.
Got it. So August 1st of 24. So he had just started basically the first half of 2024. We were very light on spending money just because we didn't really have somebody who could pull attention to it full time. So as soon as we hired Brandon, he kind of took to social media, to some digital marketing strategies, that sort of a thing. So we didn't spend a ton of dollars in advertising and marketing just because we didn't really have the bandwidth to manage it. But then as you can see, where we're heaviest is contracting and professional fees, and you guys were all at the table for that. So we had attorneys, obviously, to
My check is
and the professional fees.
yeah.
Okay,
My check is in there, and then the evaluation,
sure.
and then we hired someone to do a play and stage video.
Okay. But the bulk of that was actually legal fees for our contracting. So, because we had to, as you guys remember, most of you remember, we redrafted the naming rights agreement to suit the contract that we had going with Mission. In addition to that, 2024 really was all of our establishment documentation and things like that. So we obviously saw professional fees for those types of things as well. And then under that, tiny stuff, you know, no mileage because I didn't charge for it. A couple of entertainment meals, membership subscriptions. That was to Sports ETA. As you can tell, we spend considerable amount of our energy in sports tourism just because that's where the event acquisition is for our venues for the most part. Not that it's the only thing that we have, but it's really the lowest hanging fruit. Software and apps, pretty typical stuff like QuickBooks, that type of thing. And then we have promotional materials. Obviously, we wanted to get some logoed items for our Milkman games and representation that are that we carried through for the naming rights agreement. And then down there, we have the largest one, which you guys are also very well aware of, is the naming rights agreement that we have taken over from the commission. So that basically outlines how money was spent. If you would like a very specific check register breakdown of marketing fees or anything like that, we're happy to do that. But high level, once Brandon got on, we started spending money on marketing and advertising because that's what he was hired to do. But 2024 really was an establishment year for us, as can be told by this statement.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
In this, what does it cost to advertise in this, like, one page? You have, like, somebody wants to do a one page in here, not a full side by side, you know, approximately.
Yeah,
So we
it's
have,
inexpensive.
yeah, I mean, our highest is an executive partnership. That's $1,000 a year. But you not only that you get a full page, you get once a month contact. You get dibs on, like when we have like Milkman games and stuff, they're able to market themselves. They have up to like 2 games to a Milkman ticket, just like a little add-on. But our executive partnership is $1,000.
What they pay?
They pay $250, but not just for that. Like they have, there's other things within the
No, I
partnership
gotcha.
that you
It's very
Very
It's
reasonable.
almost too reasonable.
Right.
But it's our
Yeah.
first one. Yeah.
It's our first one, you know.
Mhm.
We want to get them to show them like, hey, look, like there's a visitors guide out there. I think that was kind of the first, like, and every time someone had a question, we talked and said, hey, yeah, this is our first visitors guide. You know, this is our first go around and all this stuff. Like, we're learning as much as you guys are learning too. So now that we have one out, I think more businesses will start seeing the value in having an ad in here.
It's very reasonable.
We did spend a lot of time as the Engage board talking about that, and we had a lot of input from the restaurants,
Yeah.
particularly. And we did talk about a higher structure. Decided to go lower for now.
Laura, 2 questions on the report.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned the agreement, naming rights agreement. That's the sponsorship for $150,000 on this, and then the contract and professional fees is the $83,600,
Mm-hmm.
and that was for formation
Correct.
of Engage Franklin, and those were both spent with Rock Venture. Both those items.
No. No, they were not. So the only thing spent with Rock Ventures was the naming rights agreement. So
Thought that there was something
startup
that,
fee.
The contracts and
yeah,
professional
okay.
fees.
Yeah, so I'm sorry. Yeah,
We
the
own them.
reimbursement of my
The reimbursement.
salary. Thank you.
Is under,
I misunderstood.
is under contract and professional fees? Or the executive director's stipend?
No, this line right
No.
here, contract and professional
That-
fees,
Has,
83,900.
yeah, what's all in there?
that was
Yep.
part of the startup cost of
That's the exact.
that
not
Rock
the
Venture
exact-
spent.
So those are legal fees to generate. When you say contract, we're talking about developing contracts for,
Think of it as money that Rock Venture spent before Engage Franklin was created.
oh, okay,
Yes.
got
And
it.
they
Yeah, I
spent that.
remember that. There was a,
Right,
that's
right.
right, as part of that,
Yeah,
Right.
that,
Yeah.
okay.
Which,
Yes,
when
and
they
that-
hired Laura to come.
right,
Yes, yes, and then there was a negotiated amount there.
correct.
Okay.
Right, that was
Yeah.
part of
And
it.
that's the bulk of that line item.
So executive director stipend then is,
Grant.
Right.
Probably me.
Well, it was part of you.
And portion of it was
Portion,
me. So, because we kind of had an
So we
overlap
had
where I
the-
stayed on part-time
Yeah,
until
it was like part-time, and then when she became president, or she became part of the board, then I became full-time.
And I should know this, but are you a W-2 employee of Engage Franklin, or you're independent contractor?
Independent
You get a
contractor.
1099?
really want that to change very much, but that's where we're at right now.
Okay.
That's part of,
Hence the stipends.
part of that.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, and so for Q1, Joey Olivo, who is our board treasurer, is an extremely busy person these days because of baseball. He coaches and parent. So when we asked for Q1, he gave me through April. So I apologize. You get Q1 with a bonus.
Yeah. bonus
So I can kind of walk through that with you, but I will deliver the Q1 actual reports to you. But for the purposes of right now, I will step you through the statement of activity for basically April 30 year to date. And so I apologize, don't have that in front of you, but I can certainly. Sorry, my old lady face on here. So income, we have Franklin room tax of $39,192.23. Partnership revenue, we have, as I mentioned before, $2,113. So we started to slowly diversify our revenue, although we obviously have a lot of work to do there. Moving into expenses, advertising and marketing, like I said, now that Brandon is going full steam, he can tell you in detail where he's spending the dollars, but it's digital marketing and social media advertising. And those are promoting the events that are already existing to garner participation, and promoting events that will be taking place into the future to garner excitement. And then we have, again, some of the contract and professional fees. This is where, sorry, lady eyes. We do have some layover expenses from some of the recruiting fees of hiring Brandon, and that's where that was logged. And in addition to that, we did have some legal fees in addition to that, where we were, it was an accounting firm that assisted us with reapplying for our 501c6 status versus 501c4. I know that we've had this conversation briefly in the past, but that's where those dollars were allocated. And then we have executive director stipend, that's Brandon, and then some minor fees for web design. So our website was built in 2024, but in order to accommodate advertising space for our partnerships, it kind of had to be tweaked a little bit.
Yeah.
And then the next one is office expenses, quote unquote, which is entertainment, meals, mileage reimbursement, office expenses, memberships and subscriptions. So any of the entertainment type stuff, that was just us getting out in the community. I know that Brandon did a lot of content creation for different spaces of places like restaurants and things like that. So he'd buy a plate of food and he'd rub it or video, that kind of thing. So that's where a lot of that went. And then the membership subscriptions, that's Sports ETA. So that's that and the event that we attended within that. So that's where that's lumped in. And software and apps, again, that's pretty typical stuff like our QuickBooks subscription and some of the graphic design where that he uses to use things. And of course, we have sponsorship. In there right now, we haven't logged anything for the Rock V naming rights agreement. We just have $4,290 logged in there. That was our sponsorship of the golf show, Greater Milwaukee Golf Show. That we had our bags that were stuffed with all the Franklin goodies, including coupons for restaurants.
Coupons
things like that.
for our partners that had their coupons in there.
Yep, so that's what that was. And then there's some travel in there, and that was for his trip to Oklahoma for Sports ETA Symposium. And that's essentially it. So we basically revenues $41,307. We are really good at spending money now, apparently. Kidding. So expenditures $42,080. So we are at a $722 operating deficit. So yeah, but that's just operating. We're confident with where we sit, and are forecasting to spend money wisely, but are still in that first close mode a little bit. Yeah. So again, I'll provide these to you. If you want, I can actually forward this to you right now, John. You can have what I just read off of. But my intention is to get you guys the official Q1, which is obviously. Any questions at all? And I know a lot of the detailed questions Brandon can answer with regard to where advertising dollars are. I've also asked Brandon for the next meeting to come with some metrics on how the digital media buys are performing. Working, not working, how he's tweaking.
I guess I'll send you guys an email.
Digital media buys on,
Like campaigns, Facebook campaigns.
like, on, are we talking about boosting, like, Facebook ads? that
Well,
kind of-
so boosting and like
Or-
yes, but
Or I guess
campaign.
maybe a better question is what avenues or what
Yeah, so if you want to do a campaign reaches more people. Boosting is more. It's effective, but not too effective. You kind of just boost the post that you post. A Facebook campaign ad is actually targeting people. Like you get to choose the audience, the age group, the location, like for example, I was boosting a baseball camp that we have coming, and the guy is a former Chicago Cubs hitting coach. So where am I gonna boost that at Chicago so they can drive, stay for the 2-day camp, and come. So that'll be a good example of what I made a campaign around the Chicago area, Illinois area, and like Norfolk, Wisconsin area, so they can see that ad. Rather than boosting, you're kind of just like throwing it into the wind and hoping it catches.
Now, is this all through Facebook or other, like,
you can do
Google
Facebook,
Business?
you can do Google.
What have you done?
You can
Yeah,
do,
that's my
so I've done a little bit of Google.
Yeah.
I'm still learning that one. That one's a little more complicated than Facebook. But Google is very effective because when people like, when you go to a new place, what do you type in? Hey, what is there to do in Franklin, Wisconsin?
Right.
I want our website to be there first. And right now, when I first got the job, it was not there. And now it's we're fourth, like down the line of Google. So we go, what to do in Franklin, Wisconsin? Our website is fourth. So that means our website is getting clicked on a lot. So, so I use Google Campaign and Facebook Campaign. Those are the only two I've used so far. I boosted some, but then I started to learn it's like that. It's super random. It's just boosting it to random people rather than the target audience that you want to kind of get to. So, yeah.
Okay.
Not to circle back too much, but I also can share. You guys all have access to it, but the Department of Revenue report that we produced for Danielle that just shows all expenditures over $1,000 in 2024. If you're interested in that snapshot, you can obviously Danielle can share it with you, or John probably has it, or I can
It's
send it to you.
in their package.
We've got
Oh,
it,
is it?
yes,
Beautiful.
thank you.
Never mind then.
It's in the- Yep, the 3
Okay.
pages or 4 pages
Excellent.
that report in our packet.
Sorry,
Have that? Did you have that?
I did. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it should be like that second one.
Yep. Thank you.
And just to, because it's in the financial realm, we've got at the end of the night here, we're going to be talking about a payment voucher. Is this, and I just want to add, so this is April 25 revenue. So this is basically what the city has collected through city room tax was due April 30th. Is this most of it?
Well, no, we actually
Or-
have some that came through here just now.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's
You
from.
just got to check.
From the our previous meeting, right?
Got it. I picked it up last Thursday. I believe.
Okay.
And then
So we have another check for approval tonight. Maybe that was done on the advance process.
Okay.
What it sounds like to me is that Danielle is paying monthly, right? That she's
Whenever it comes in, if we
Whenever it
have
comes,
funds
she's
in there,
right.
she's
beautiful.
paying.
Yeah,
Yep.
that makes sense.
That makes sense because I did see the voucher. I was like, oh, we just received one, but that makes sense that then what Danielle's doing.
Yeah, so if everyone's paying on time, a big chunk would have come in by April 30th. There's a few stragglers early in May here. So I would think that a chunk of first quarter will be in by the end of this month.
Looking forward to having a full year of receipts to look at. Do you know what I mean? So
Right,
that we
right,
can
and
really
be
start to
getting them
forecast.
on
Yeah.
this monthly basis so that you can actually kind of sync up your expenditures with your revenues.
Totally.
Yeah.
Get a real good cash flow estimate.
Anything else?
No.
Franklin? Any other questions?
Nope, not for me.
Okay. Barbara? Bill? Okay.
But as we move on to the unfinished business, I am going to ask them a question.
Sure.
I don't know the answer to.
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for the Engage Franklin report. So let's move on to unfinished business. And our first item on the agenda is Franklin Concerts situation. And so, Mark?
This was several years ago, and actually I thought that that's what the civic celebration people were here for. They came to tourism and asked us to sponsor or to donate money in support of the concert series. This is before Engage. This is when we were just getting our feet wet, and we said that's not going to generate overnight stays. That's not our bailiwick. But we decided to go ahead and give them. We gave them $1,000 for 3 or 4 years, and then by that time Engage was formed, and we said, really, you should go to Engage. That's what their charter in life is. And I think, and I don't. This is what the question is. I don't know if Engage sent them a $200 check or a $500 check, but I know that John got a very angry email back saying, "I'm going to return the check." And so that's my background of what I know. I don't know if the check came back or what we decided necessarily to give in situations like that.
So, yeah, go ahead.
So we sent a $200 check. He sent it back because he has to have our logo on some things, and he didn't want that. He wanted more like a donation process. So, but following, what I'm told to have, we wanted our logo on the website or something like that as like a sponsorship, and he didn't want it.
I feel like there's some possibility to recover the relationship. I think like that's what we're really getting at, right? Like where do we stand? Where are we moving
Right,
forward?
some growing pains in this
Yes.
transition
Yeah.
between
Absolutely.
what
Yep.
was coming here and was not maybe,
Yep.
it was more civic than it was, or more city-oriented than it was maybe tourism promotion, and now Engage.
Right. Well, so Brandon was operating under the board's direction and my direction. So it wasn't Brandon necessarily going into battle and defending this person and
Right.
doing anything wrong. I think with the board in general, had underestimated the emotion behind it, which I suppose is something I wouldn't do again. Obviously, he's very passionate about what he does. So it probably could have deserved a softer hand or a more personal approach in talking with him and to kind of like feel the rumblings of emotion before, you know what I mean? So I guess where we sit with this right now, we, as I had mentioned to the civic folks, planning 4th of July tournament and all of that, we've set aside $2,000 a year for such things. For any entertainment, for any requests that are not necessarily under the purview of our direct mission, but are, like I said, community engagement type pieces. And, we don't like saying no to people who are passionate about the destination, right? So that's why we set aside that pocket of money. So that's, the $200 was kind of our best effort to be like, hey, it's not our direct mission, but we do support you and thank you. And, this is how we want to show our support. So I can take it on myself to reignite the conversation, maybe via phone, which I think might be a better opportunity if he's willing to chat, to garner better understanding, communicate the things that I just communicated to you guys, right? That Lance kind of just insinuated. It is a growing pain situation, right? Like this transition, not everybody's used to it, including us, right? So I can take it upon myself to initiate any conversation moving forward. And then if our board in the interest of making things right, or in the interest of, extending an olive branch and maybe, whatever, we could go outside of our original agreement and we could maybe increase it to $400, $500, something for this year only, just to show them that we care, that we're not going to leave them hanging. And hopefully by the end of that conversation, he could accept that. And hopefully by the end of it, he would see us as a partner that he would like to represent at the event in some way, shape, or form. And yeah, that's my hope. That's what I'm planning to do, unless anybody feels like that's a good idea.
You think it would help, John, to have
Sure. No,
Laura talk to him?
I do, and they had to operate by their operating procedures. I was just looking for a way possibly we could assist with that. We ended up at, just needed to find out ultimately
Yeah.
what had happened. Now we know.
Can I ask on that, Laura? This isn't a question on them particularly, and it's probably a bigger question than any of us in the room, but state statute and room taxes, we have to be spending our money on things that generate overnight stays for multiple hotels, right? So it's really hard to draw that line sometimes. So how do you guys, as a professional marketing organization, determine that? Are these events, these things that we're contributing to, likely to generate overnight stays? How much money?
So the answer is, obviously, when we get together, we don't see this in particular as one of those scenarios. We look at, obviously the audience, such things, are how far are they driving from, where are they going to be, and obviously if you're outside of 100 miles, they're more likely to stay overnight than if they're within a regional capacity, right? So we did look at this, and for example, the civic celebration, same. Everybody has a civic celebration, and it's wonderful. So we look at it more like a destination development piece, like a people want to visit where people want to live type situation. So it's more like an overall branding perspective. Is this a vibrant place to be? Is it a place where the residents are happy? Is it a place where businesses are thriving? Is it a place where people celebrate? We want to. That's why it's a small amount of money, because we know it's not directly, contributing to the mission of the organization, but we understand that part of our success is Engage Franklin as an extension of Tourism Commission and our hotels that are ultimately the benefactors of this whole situation. It's our duty to ensure that people feel good about tourism, that they don't see it as like a money grubbing enemy, or they don't see it as misappropriated tax, or they don't, you know what I mean? So it's our job to make sure that people look at Engage Franklin and tourism in general as something that is a positive thing for the city, especially when, so many visitors are attracted in droves during the summer and things like that. So if they see it as a nuisance, or if they see it as something that doesn't give back to the community in that sense, I feel like that would damage our reputation. Did that answer your question?
Thank you.
And it's true, right, to for everybody, that your charter is a little broader than, let's say, ours is with the city room tax law.
We have to
So
follow
you
the same.
can, well, you can do, but you can look, Engage Franklin can look at opportunities that are maybe more Chamber of Commerce-like, right? Or,
I hope
we
not.
are funding, of course, right?
I think it's the same rule.
No,
Yeah.
I know, don't, wait, maybe I'm not stating this correctly. The rule that pertains to the monies that are provided to Engage Franklin, I think contractually you have to spend those on promoting overnight stays.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
that's not your only mark, right? You have other marketing avenues you can look at that would be funded by partner revenues?
Yeah,
Wasn't
I
that-
suppose.
Or am I not understanding that
No, I
correctly?
mean, the organization itself, should stand by its foundation, right, which is our main revenue stream, which is, spent in a certain way. So, I mean, would we want to compartmentalize? The partnership dollars that we bring in should go back to the partners. Does that make sense? They should go into advertising. They should go into things like that. Obviously, a little bit more widespread, and yes, you probably have a little bit more leverage with those dollars. However, should Root River's dollars contributed to our organization go to benefit, t-shirts or whatever? We kind of have this obligation to make sure that we do stick to the letter of the law as an organization, and so that can never come into question. And then partnership dollars, if we created a different partnership revenue expenditure program, maybe that could be something that we would look into. But right now, we just look at it as contributing to a healthy organization that still has that one singular mission.
Okay.
And just to make sure, my ears probably got red. We definitely want to distinguish the difference between Chamber of Commerce activities and BMO activities, because the two exist separately for very important.
Yeah, if I said that as a way of, I mean, I see, we talked about in the formation of Franklin about the very specific promotional activities, promote and advertise Franklin as a place to stay and stay overnight and engage with our tourism assets.
Yep.
But like these requests that we received today and some that you're feeling, there have been requests in the past that are not hard to find that line to overnight stay, generating overnight stays, and yet it's more of a community investment, feel-good community investment, or it's promoting an event in the community that, you know, may be largely attended by members of the
Right.
but I know that Engage Franklin was also going to talk with those folks, right, and participate where you felt you could, right? Is that still true? Because we're sending these requests your way, right, for you to sort through and decide.
Yeah, I mean, and if we were operating by the very letter of the law and our mission, it would always be no. But we don't want to do that. Obviously, that wouldn't create goodwill. Obviously, that's not our intention. We want to be a beloved organization, a destination. We want, like I said, it's a destination development piece, helping people understand tourism who live here. You know, and it's helping people embrace our activities and know that we're a friend to the community, a friend to the economy, that sort of thing. And that's why we took a limited number of dollars, $2,000 a year, which I think is, you know, for our current budget, a decent number. As our budget grows, I mean, we could maybe make that a little bit more healthier, you know, be a little more selective, or come up with a granting process, or, you know, something like that. But for right now, that is kind of our approach to extending the kindness where people have been used to this as an asset for them and for their purposes locally and as residents. We didn't want to pull out the rug.
So right now you've established a budget of $2,000
Annually.
Is that for? Okay.
I'd like to just make one comment about the concerts. My understanding is that the check was returned because you had requested, Brandon, I guess you had requested that for that $200 you wanted to have your logo put on the program and signs and whatever, and he turned that down. There are individual people who can give that amount of money to the concert and don't expect any recognition, but they sometimes their name will be on the program. So I think, you know, asking for your logo for that small amount of money was probably what determined that he would send back the money, because it was not enough. I believe in the past, when the Tourism Commission had contributed $1,000, our name was on the big sign right in front of the stage, near the stage, for our contribution. So anyway, I'm just, you know, letting you know probably what his rationale was.
Yeah, I totally,
When
definitely
you
see
speak
it
with
in her,
him,
for
make
sure.
you understand that.
Appreciate that. And in addition, like I'll be sure to acknowledge that. So thank you. And then secondly, I want to ensure that any future requests are just that, they're not demands. You know what I mean? Just is a sponsorship program? Is there some representation? We are getting our name out in the community as well. That sort of a thing, you know. And I obviously won't lead with that because that's not going to get us where we need to go. But I think I want to acknowledge that for that conversation, once we've reached some future kinship, and then in future conversations too. It's never really a demand. It's just we would love this to be a sponsorship. Get our name out.
Moving on to item D under unfinished investment vision for the routine fund. First of all, I want to thank Mayor of the council for submitting these, submitting their surveys. We got surveys from the council. We got surveys from some other interested parties that we put out there from, of course, our group here and from Engage Franklin.
I would just like to add, thanks, Mr. Regitz, for really herding the cats on a lot of this stuff because they're all scattered all over the place. So excellent job by John. I know John and I have talked about a few items of concern, and that'll be coming up. And I have to be on the road in about 6 minutes.
Yes, do I. My daughter has voice lessons. I'm really sorry, everybody.
So do I. I get voice lessons.
La la la.
But if John, I don't know how this works, but if John could.
Well, I guess, we went through the surveys, and I did find hard copy surveys, the first ones to come in. And everybody else did them online and sent them in that way. And I had an extra one from River Lanes, which I thought was a duplicate, but it turns out we got 3 from them, so okay. So I added those in, and they did not change the complexion all that much. And this is the chairman's prioritization. And so, the relationships are all pretty much the same. But the only thing that changed was question 7. What do you think is the biggest barrier preventing more overnight visitors from choosing Franklin as a destination? It started out the last time we had 7 for developing. Well, we had 5 last time for lack of events or attractions, and we had 7 for limited marketing and awareness. With the other surveys that we found, it was 11 for. I'll have to look at this again.
So the first column was what you had originally, and then you
Right.
found more, and
And the
that
current count.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So it's
So
actually flip-flopped then.
It flip-flopped. So we had 5 under lack of events or attractions and 7 for limited marketing. Upgrading the numbers, it was 11 for lack of events or attractions and 9 for limited marketing. But the relationships for the rest of them were the same.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you.
We talked about if you're good with bringing them up.
Yeah, that's right.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
So just from going through this, looking at the process that we went through, I just don't necessarily think the numbers in the surveys come down to the conclusion. And we had several different opinions on it. It just seems like the numbers that came out of the survey before the first time around and with the found surveys seem to indicate that people are wanting to see signature events.
Mm-hmm.
They're wanting to see attractions developed, and they're wanting to see the technology that supports wayfinding and marketing. And that's just what the numbers seem to say. Now, we can take a look at that, and you guys make the decision. It's your opinion that counts.
So just a question, the larger number is the winner, or the lower number?
Well, for the first one, the lower number. For Q1, it's the lower number.
Okay,
Because it said rank it. So people rank things 1 being the most.
okay.
And then for the rest of them, it's all straight line number.
So the rest of them, the larger number?
Yeah.
Okay,
But then we had a variety of questions.
yeah.
You have an opportunity here with these reserve funds to take a look at having some dollars available for building your capacity and some capital investment. And also, there's enough funding there to help with some of these other marketing and promotion efforts. I just don't want to see you make a decision and you spend the dollars that are in reserves and they're gone. And like I say, the example for the soccer field with a $100,000 pledge, leveraged a project that's going to be over $2 million in value.
Right.
You had another project like that, you know, got another couple $1 million that you wouldn't have had otherwise. And if you had somebody else build a soccer field with artificial turf, and you had 3 in town, you know, I think that would attract some tournaments. So that's the thing. And, you know, convention centers, yeah, it's kind of pie in the sky stuff. This doesn't touch that, construct it, but it pays for a feasibility study. That's usually the first step. So I just wanted us to keep that in mind as we're going forward, you know, as to how to prioritize.
All right. So is this, and the mayor mentioned, you know, to make sure that some concerns or at least some observations were brought up. Does that pretty much summarize the
That's one of them.
intent?
And just where we have to, well, yeah, but where are we going to spend the dollars, you know? And like I just said, you know, once the funds are gone, it's pretty tough to get them back. So where what we're putting them.
So there was more thought that it should be in something that maybe a little more tangible.
Something that builds the base, what, you know, the base of what you're going to promote. It's just basically the original vision you had.
Well, good.
And what we spend it on does benefit. You know, the marketing and.
Well, I think we're all in agreement on that, right? Should be long lasting. But this that allows us to, you know, increase the amount of folks that are coming, reasons to come visit Franklin, and usually that is you've got something to do or do, right? Yeah,
That's right.
right.
For a reason.
Yeah. Okay.
And Brandon has a copy of this, doesn't he?
Yeah, Brandon, do you have a copy of the
Results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do.
It'd be in the packet. We'll race.
Is the whole package?
Yeah, it'll be in the middle.
I know last time we had talked about Engage Franklin wants to sit down with us as a group.
Yeah, I thought we were doing that today. That's why we have a closed session item
No,
on the agenda. And
They wanted to sit down and Laura wanted to bring in the same lady that facilitated the initial meeting,
okay,
but she is retired. She's no longer available. And Laura has been talking to other facilitators, vetting those other facilitators. I don't know if she talked to you about okay.
She talked to me.
So as soon as we find that person or that entity, we'll be able to start scheduling. But we're not. Here I've got my Engage hat on.
Mm-hmm.
Engage is not ready to schedule a meeting with us as tourism. But
right, but
this
that's,
can become
that's,
fodder for them.
but that's the strategic planning session that Laura was talking about.
Right.
Okay, that's a bit different than going into a closed session
Sure.
and having a discussion.
Correct.
And, you know, I asked city attorney, you know, what can we do and discuss in closed session? You know, trade secrets, you know, specific marketing targets or events that Engage Franklin's pursuing, if they want to tell us about that, and as an informational thing.
Right.
That's a trade secret, and that's something that you're in competition with that fits. Traditionally, we don't, in the city, have both parties to a negotiating situation sit down, but that's not a negotiation. We're finding out what they're doing and what they're going to try to accomplish. Now, talking about the naming rights agreement and Engage's ability to pay that, that's not a reason to go into closed session, because to us, that's probably more, this is my interpretation, but to us, that's probably more of a contract performance, because that's part of our contract with Engage Franklin. They assume the naming.
Well, in this open discussion, Engage Franklin, and I know Brandon, you're the last man standing on Engage Franklin.
I went to the board.
Is there maybe to obviously take advantage of this agenda item? Brandon, is there anything you want to talk with us about in regards to this? What's been discussed at the Engage Franklin board meeting about this strategic planning session that talking about?
The only
here?
discussion we've had, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon, but Laura has been looking for that name, Lynn,
Yeah, but
and
someone, I think retired or something.
yeah, and
I was just to find
she
someone else.
said she's retired, we can't use her anymore, and so we had to find somebody else. But we wanted to find an independent third person, not a John Regetz, not a Laura Nelson. Chair this.
I hope not.
And actually she did a very good job facilitating the initial planning session, and we got some good direction from that. Engage got some good direction from that, and that helped set the framework for the contract between us. So I think we need to leave it. We've expressed to Engage that we want to do that. Said we want to do that too. We want to find the right person.
Okay.
And this meeting will be between board members and board members.
Yes.
So all board members present.
Yes.
Or at least,
Well, hopefully all of them.
yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
And again, the idea of this board member to board member get together would be as more part of this might be the year that was, or kind of an oversight, like how are things
It could be a check-in on how things are going, but it could also be, look, we have X number of dollars. We want to spend that. We want to spend it the right way.
I think like X's and O's, like sports game plan, just so I can get a clear picture. What events do you guys want me to target between both of you agreeing? Do we want more sporting events? Do we want more concerts? Do we want more, X, Y, Z? I think just like a nitty gritty, just like everyone just brainstorming and just coming up with ideas and coming together, understanding that we're in the same team, understanding that these businesses are on the same team, and we're here to try to help them and try to help just Franklin grow as a city. So I think that would be helpful for me. Get some direction of, all right, we're going to go after these events. We're going to go hard, and we come up with a strategic plan for 2025 and 2026, and go from there. I think that's what I would like.
Brandon's done a good job of lining up essentials, and now he's working on fleshing out some of the details. Like the cornhole thing could be a good opportunity. We just don't know what the expenditure was going to be. We don't know what the expected number of people coming in for it would be. And that's part of what he's asking them. So put some meat on this bone so we can decide if we want to do this. And there's some that we've...
Because a lot of people do they love when they see our place. They love the convenience of it, the restaurants, and all that. But yeah, I gotta get those numbers. Travel attendees, overnight attendees, how many teams you bring in. So all that information comes in, and then we just.
So, how?
I guess the net I'm asking is, Laura is investigating that person. And I'd be more comfortable having her find that person.
Yeah.
So.
I'm just questioned if we're having tourism commission and Gage Franklin, doing a get-together, strategic planning session. Well, how public is that?
The attorney, right?
Well, I know for sure I'll have to issue a bad keynote. No,
Oh,
no meaning in the name. That's just the guy that brought suit against somebody, some
Yeah.
city at some point in time. It's that, and it has to be noticed saying, hey, there is a possibility there will be a quorum of directors, and so that's issued publicly, and then you don't know who's going to show up.
Right.
Right.
Like
But-
4 of
I
us
see.
go to a baseball game, or 5 of us go to a baseball game together. There's a possibility that we're talking.
sure, I see.
So, as excited bunch as we are,
So-
that crowd, yeah.
So
But
let me back up and ask, who was the audience that submitted
the surveys were issued to the Economic Development Commission,
Okay.
the City Council, Tourism Commission, and also to Engage Franklin.
So in theory then, that should be the audience for who attends this.
I don't know. I don't know about that. The idea was to gather that, to solicit information, so we weren't making assumptions vacuum. But now we have that. I mean,
Yeah.
those folks have had a
Okay,
chance to.
So if we
So I
treat-
don't know necessarily they have to be at the table.
If we treat Economic Development Commission and Common Council as contributors, we can act on the input they gave us.
Use their input.
Yeah, it was research, but
And then
Right.
we can then formulate a document and share with them. This is what our direction is. Is that fair? So that doesn't need to have it doesn't need to have citizen input beyond who we've gotten input from.
No, and I think as John has mentioned
Okay.
several times, that those dollars are, it's our job to administer those.
Yeah.
So really, the
Yeah.
decision lies right here with the commission. However, it's prudent of us to seek guidance and
Sure.
input, right? And that's what we started. Right? But you're right, we would not have to. It's not like we need endorsement for the active.
I'm comfortable with that. Part of the reason for my question was at the Engage board meeting, one of the board members asked if Common Council was coming or if Economic Development would. So I wanted to answer that.
yeah, it has got the expectation.
Okay.
The
I'm
expectation.
comfortable with that.
And we did a similar process with the Economic Development Commission, strategic planning. We had the commission, the city council come to, and it was the internal part of the strategic process. And so they went and did a retreat, and they used information from, and it was scheduled as a meeting for both entities. And we'd had focus groups with a variety of entities from the economic development or specific business development, if you want to call it that. People that we deal with, like developers and businesses, a couple of manufacturers. And so we had that private input in focus groups, but where we had more than 2 elected officials from either body, the
Right.
strategic planning, where we went through all that. That was a public, I think it was a tourism committee. We had to notice.
So did we do that for the strategic planning?
Or Engage Franklin.
Yeah.
No, I think it was just myself, and I don't think there was one city council person there. Might have been 2, but if
Okay. I'm just trying to remember who all was there.
but there were more than two people that would sit on the council there. So if you have the mayor as a council person, pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
Then people start walking more.
So for tonight then, can we just have the minutes say that tourism and Engage are working working towards a meeting and Laura has the action plan.
For a strategic planning session, I would.
Okay.
Right. Now, based on comments you made, what we have on survey, and as I'm reading why we thought we might be closed session, that is, I think, item. However, I think it's valid as we talk about these new priorities and discussion about what that means in our approach with business activities. Engage Franklin, for example. So I'm going to suggest, and Brandon, that because we're hoping for more, Laura and, just a little more back and forth in this, that we would just go into closed session as a board, as a commission tonight.
Yeah, if they're
To talk about these.
talk about,
Yeah.
potentially Engage Franklin as for its marketing. efforts.
Right. And not a closed session that's involving Engage Franklin.
Yeah.
Can we do that since the agenda says with Engage Franklin on it?
So are we listening to Engage Franklin's? Because the closed session is to hear what Engage Franklin is wanting to do, not necessarily what we're looking at.
I think it's could be anyway to talk about Engage Franklin's contract, where we'd like to see it go, what that would look like in the future, and those kind of things that we couldn't discuss, probably shouldn't discuss publicly. We have that there, but maybe that's something we could run past the attorney. But I think that'd be a healthy discussion for us to have before asking for this.
I would bounce it. That's kind of more like a planning item for us.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, those aren't done in closed session. Typically, a negotiating situation when you're in closed session.
Sure.
It has to do something competitive marketing, competitive, and negotiating situation. We're not negotiating a contract, or we're not talking about somebody's competitive efforts for a specific item like they're trying to land in the pen. My understanding at this point is that we wouldn't go into closed session.
Okay, so closed session, and this maybe is good to table and have. That's what I just up that if we want to obviously meet once a month, this is an advantageous time to tackle some things. If we want to talk about our as a commission the contractual obligations that we have for oversight with Engage Franklin, just to follow through or to make sure that certain things are happening. If we want to talk about that doesn't qualify for a closed session.
Public contract.
Okay.
I mean, you're not negotiating with it. You take a look at the contract and
Well, unless we are actually negotiating.
again,
Engage
yes.
Franklin. And that's where I'm going with it, right? Like maybe there's tweaks
Yeah.
to it we want to make, but we have to know as a group what we want to make before
Yeah,
we
we
can
have-
negotiate. And that's the
Yeah, I mean, but there has to be something to negotiate.
Right.
And
Well, then, if that's the understanding, and I think it would be good to clarify this, then I guess we're not going into it. We won't be going into a closed session, right? We're not going to deliberation, right? Of investing in public funds inflation. Or are you prepared to do that, Brandon?
I wish I can speak, but nothing gets to approve, has to go to approval.
Yeah.
I have no say in the matter. So I'm just working. Told what to do, and then I go do it. Get approval, so
All right.
I can say whatever. It won't mean anything. So
Well, it's
I wish I can, but
yeah, it's meant to be informational, but
yeah.
all right. Then I say
I think
we
it's best to table that.
table that and we move on, and we head on to
We need a motion to table?
Don't know that we need to.
We don't have to,
Table
we
it.
just put it on, you know,
We'll carry it
when
over.
we set the agenda.
Yeah, I'll work
we'll
on
know.
that.
Okay.
Well, like I say, I send the agenda to Lance,
Yeah.
and, you know, I sent it to you earlier.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
And, so, and then the agenda gets sent out, and it's there, so the thing is it's not something that's done secret, the public knows that something's.
so it's on there. And that's the way we should, okay. Yeah. So we can work, yeah, Barbara, we can work together on getting that moved on to the next agenda for next meeting. Have the agenda. All right. Then I'm going to move on to 6, new business. Have these sub-items.
I have no new.
Then we're going to move on to invoices. So we do have this Engage Franklin payment, right? Yep. And so it's the very last sheet in your packet. Amount or the payment voucher.
I have a question now. This is for Brandon. Is celebratefranklin.com the right email address? I thought that was gone.
It's my work email.
Okay.
So, why is that on here?
It's on page 2.
Yeah. Yeah, Celebrate Franklin is not it.
Okay.
And nor is the website.
And it doesn't impact the approval of the invoices.
No.
It should be changed to engagefranklin.org.
Or we could do the Engage Franklin board email.
I'm curious. We know why for April, but this is March revenue.
Yeah, I was wondering why. Does that mean that the hotels didn't report anything, or?
Were you empty in March, Lance?
I think that's another way of saying nobody, and I don't know why you would send in your room tax, city room tax form in March when you haven't finished the quarter yet. It's not due until technically April 1st. For Johnny on the spot, you fill it up April 1st, get it out to the city treasurer, but have until April 30th.
I do have a question. Is this first quarter in?
It should be. Now, I'm looking at this amount.
What was
And-
the one that I just
Well,
is that first quarter as well?
it's not for stays in the first quarter, I don't think, but I'll have to ask and see.
Okay.
What we should all be aware of, what we learned is that Danielle is receiving monies from folks beyond the deadline. So, like January 31st was the deadline for the fourth quarter. Well, you hotel that somewhere in February submits their payment, right? So now what she's doing, she's Johnny on the spot. She'll say, okay, it's February. I know it's, I'm going to, or it'd be March maybe by the time, she gets around. It gets submitted in February. And now it's March and you're getting a payment because a payment came in February for the fourth quarter, which is due January 31st.
And we got that in March.
Yeah.
These payments from the previous year are coming in
They'll come in April.
routinely. I mean,
Yeah.
some in
That
January.
makes sense.
And some in January. He says they're due, and very few in January. But then most of them come in February, in March, and
Yeah.
see in April.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
I was
so-
like,
So you would, so this 29,000, just based on that, being 75% of the amount collected, would tell me that maybe one hotel or two hotels have actually turned it in by the gave her the opportunity. Should be a little higher. Obviously,
Yeah, I
if
would've
it was
thought.
all-
I would've
If
thought.
it was first quarter for all lodging in Franklin.
Well, because this
It
is
should be a little
mostly
higher.
this one big one. If you look at the page prior.
Oh,
Yeah. All it's all in April. These receipts are, there's these receipts, and then you've got one that's 26,000.
yeah.
I don't know what event would have happened that would have generated
Yeah.
these dollars. So I'm assuming this stuff was. From
No, there's probably
December,
there's two
January.
hotels that are missing. Right.
I'm confident that she's reporting this as she gets it.
As she gets.
Well, that was the agreement we came to late in 2023.
Yeah.
Early 24 is that we would send these dollars when we get them in, and just keep sending that percentage in, and that's what we would work off of, rather than worrying about sending a check that says, oh, these dollars are from this year,
Yeah.
and these dollars are from the new year.
Right.
Let's just keep sending the money as fast as we possibly can.
That makes sense. I think
That makes
especially as
sense.
it's new and we're wondering about cash flow for them and
Right,
our own
right.
balance sheet and all that, like it's
That makes sense.
So I guess
hard not to
to
question
that
it, so
point,
we gotta
Brandon,
pick that.
I guess to that point, Daryl used to always concern about, was this quarter one or quarter two?
Yeah,
The answer is, we don't know,
we don't know.
but it's current as of
But as
what
long
the
as
city
it's
has
current
received.
as it's updated,
Yeah,
and I think that's better.
because that way Engage
Well,
gets the
yeah.
money sooner.
Well, because I saw this and I was like, oh, we just received one. I'm used to receiving it quarterly, at least when I first got the job.
Right.
It was
Now
quarterly.
it's switched
It wasn't so back to back, but
So I can say
This
that
is
when we
nice
meet
too.
next time, there's gonna be another, probably pretty deep check, because like I said, I think there's details that are not showing. Sent their report in towards the end of the month, and if mailed in, and hit on the third, arrive in the city hall on the 30th. Larger payment.
She got this in as quick as she could. The agenda had already. I sent an updated agenda.
I guess my question would be, like say at the end of the year, we made X, Y, and Z amount of money. Do we just do it based on the check that we cashed out that year? You know what I'm trying to say? Like you said, 4 to 4 was this check. Like would this past check be for 24 or 25?
I think you're on a cash basis the way you're recording your deposits. That meaning, when you get it,
When you get
it's
it,
revenue that
that's
year.
it. That's
Which is sort of
it's
the way
just
it's
much
been,
easier.
because you're
I
looking
think
at
it's
fourth
the way
quarter.
It's just so much easier to do it like that.
Right.
When you get it, it's for
Exactly.
that year.
Right.
That's so much better. Yeah,
Right.
I agree. I just want to be on the same page.
All right, can I entertain a motion to, or if there's comments on this payment voucher?
I so move
All
that
right.
we pay.
Barbara moved it. Pay the voucher, 29,000. Second by Bill. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Voucher. Our next meeting. Third Wednesday,
Third Wednesday,
June.
6 o'clock.
Probably.
It'll be the 18th. June 18, 6 o'clock.
Yeah, works.
What was that again?
June 18th.
June 18th.
Yep. I have it on my calendar.
I'll be out of town.
Well, if Jeff, we don't know what Jeff's schedule looks like, I say go with it, and if Mr. Kudersky also is, we may want to do we just do this.
Yep.
So, okay with 18th?
I'd say keep it on schedule and then see what Jeff can do.
Okay, if we need to.
Not that we won't miss you.
Yes.
Exactly.
If you work around me, we might not meet till November, so that's all right.
All right, and then I think we decided we announce an adjournment, or I can solicit a motion for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll
Motion
second.
And a second by Barbara. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.